Alright, welcome to part 2 of the CM Punk Best of the World DVD review. Only reason I'm making a part 2 is because I do not have the feature here on YouTube which allows you to go over 15 minutes on a video, because I sadly have a copyright strike against me. So make sure to go watch part 1 and let's get underway with part 2. Now here we left off in part 1 where they already covered ECW and OVW in Punk's days, and now we're going to cover when he got called up to the main roster. Now when he got called up to the main roster, they are covering his first Money in the Bank cash-in. And Colt Cabana was saying when Punk won the briefcase, wow, they're actually going to go with this guy. They're actually going to trust this guy and see what direction they're going to go with him. And when Punk won it, he became what was called the Outcast Champion, as one of the listings there in the documentary portion. And they were saying that they felt like he was a disgrace to the title. Like he didn't fit in the title picture. So the day of Unforgiven, the pay-per-view he was supposed to defend it in, he came in and they told him, "You're not on the pay-per-view. You're not going to defend it in the championship scramble match." And that was a spit in the face. That was an insult to him. He felt, at the time, he was obviously like, "Oh, okay," but you have to understand how pissed that guy must have been that time. And of course Jericho won at that time. They did the whole angle where Orton punted Punk and Punk could not compete, and then of course Jericho would go ahead and win the championship. So and then they covered when he became tag team champion, and then he became Intercontinental champion. And he's saying, "You know what? I was a former World Heavyweight Champion, then I went down to being a Tag Team Champion, and now I'm an Intercontinental Champion." And then after that, they had nothing for him. So he's like, what now? Really? And then they cover his second cash-in, which was more successful. Punk was shocked, he said, when he won it the second time after what happened the first time with the World Championship and when he cashed in. But then they started going over the Hardy feud, and before they go more in depth over the Hardy feud, they said, "You know what? We're going to turn you heel." And I think it was Michael Hayes who said, "Punk, come on, we're going to go to Vince's office." And Vince is like, "You know what, Punk, I have a challenge for you." And Punk's like, "Alright, what's the challenge?" "We're going to see if you can go with a heel run." And Punk's like, "Okay, fine, but what's the challenge?" And Vince is like, "We're going to turn you heel, and you're going to have a heel run. We're going to see if you can go with a heel, as a heel." And Punk's like, "Really? That's the challenge? You're kidding, what's the challenge?" And Vince is like, "Are you fucking with me?" And Punk's like, "You know what, fine, if that's the challenge, I'll be the best damn heel that this company has right now." And he did. And then they go more in depth with his feud with Hardy, which pretty much made him a star. And he loved working with Hardy. But then once the whole Jeff Hardy thing was over, they would have said to him, "Hey, you know what, we're going to drop the title to Taker this time." And Punk's like, "Alright, fine." And this world title run, as they were saying, was more successful than the first one, obviously. But then after they dropped the title to Taker, they had nothing for Punk. They had nothing, zero for Punk to do after that. So what Punk did was he wrote 14 weeks of TV time, and in that whole, I think he said like 10 pages or something like that, was the Straight Edge Society idea. He showed it to Vince, and Vince is like, "Okay, fine, you want to do that? Go ahead and do it." And Punk loved going with the Straight Edge Society. He loved being in that group. There's one story that Punk was telling where the creative team came up with a script of Punk to say about being straight edge, and Punk's like, "These guys have no idea what's going on in my brain. They can't really tell my point of view what it is to be straight edge and go in that lifestyle." So what Punk did when one of the writers is like, "Here's your script about what do you have to say for tonight's show," Punk would be like, "Oh, thank you," and just rip it in half and just throw it on the ground. So that was pretty funny. And then he started to talk about how fun it was to work with Serena and Luke Gallows, and also bringing in Joey Mercury along the way. And that led to a amazing story by Punk involving Mercury. I'm not going to spoil it because you guys have to listen to that on your own time, because it's really cool. It's a really cool story that just shows you the type of friend that Punk is, the type of guy that Punk is, that he would do anything for a friend. And eventually Punk said that the SES died a slow death because WWE had no idea how to use them correctly. and he said it was a shame because in this whole segment you knew that Punk really loved being in that group. Then afterwards, after they covered the SCS, we go on to Punk talked about his frustrations about not being used well and properly, and he was upset about the fact that it was Miz main event in WrestleMania, not him. You know, in his opinion, he was more deserving than Miz. He was more ready than Miz, and he was saying, shouldn't it be the bad guy going against the good guy? You know, bad guy being Punk, a good guy being Cena in the greatest show of them all at WrestleMania. It should have been that. He thinks that Miz shouldn't have done anything come WrestleMania. You know, he should have been the one going against Orton, not him. And he said that Punk and Cena would have been a better match than Miz and Cena was. You know, he was pissed off about Miz being in that spot where Punk should be. And then, all that frustration and all that angerment would lead us to the pipe bomb promo, the shoot promo that Punk had. The whole promo is played on this segment from start to finish. And then when it finished, you had Punk saying, that wasn't only me letting out years of frustration. That was me, the guys in the back, and the gals in the back, the divas in the back, just letting out all that frustration. And afterwards, he's going over how media life-wise has changed for him. You know, he's doing more Comic Con appearances, he's doing more autograph signings, more radio, TV, media, and how there's no more days off for him. Then afterwards, we would start wrapping up the documentary with him talking about his contract signing, where he was dodging it left and right when guys were like, hey Punk, you want to talk about your contract? He's like, no, I gotta go do a photo shoot. Hey Punk, contract? No, I gotta go somewhere else. Hey Punk, nah, maybe tomorrow. No, he was dodging it. And he would tell us that eventually he would sign the contract right in the middle when the Money in the Bank pay-per-view show was going on. You know, that day, he was like, you know what, I'm just going to sign the contract. And I did it right in the middle of the show. So, and then to wrap the whole thing up, he was talking about how special it was to win the WWE Championship in his hometown of Chicago, and just being right now currently the man in the WWE. So yeah, that about wraps it up for the documentary. This DVD, like I said earlier, is definitely must own. You have to get it no matter what. Punk fan, not Punk fan, all that. It comes out on Tuesday. If you want to try your best, go to Kmart, stuff like that, get it earlier. But just get it. You know, ask Santa for it. Write Santa a letter. If you can't get it now, tell him, hey, Santa, I want CM Punk best in the world. So, yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoy. Remember, go watch part 1 if you're watching this. Sorry if I had to make a part 2. I just don't have that stupid feature here on YouTube. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. I will see you guys on the flip side. And, yeah, that's about it. Best in the world.